All right, today we're gonna sew this neoprene black sweater. Here are a list of supplies you would need: a sewing machine or serger, clear ruler, pins, lots of pins, neoprene fabric or other fabric of your choice, fabric chalk or regular chalk. If you're going to use regular chalk, you should test it on your fabric before you go ahead and put it on, and the sweater of your choosing to copy your pattern. First things first, we're going to copy the front panel, fold your sweater in half, and trace over the armhole, sleeve, neckline, center front, and waist. Then you're going to flip it over to the back and do the same, trace over the sleeve, arm, neckline, center back, and waist. Next thing you're going to do is copy over your neckline, and then your sleeve, starting from the armhole down to the cuff and back up to the armhole. Then your cuff. One pattern for your collar or neckline. One pattern for your cuff. Pattern piece for your sleeve. Your front pattern piece. And your back. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to fold our fabric in half and place our patterns over it. Make sure we pin it to the fabric so it doesn't move. This is optional. You're going to chalk an outline of your pattern and then remove the pins. For neoprene, I suggest that you pin your preen before you cut it because it's a little bit slippery. And then just start cutting your pattern pieces. We're going to repeat this process for the front. Here I'm using weights. If you have weights available, you should use them. Chalk the outline and cut. Repeat this process for your cuff. Fold your fabric, use weights or pins, outline with chalk, and cut. Make sure you cut 2 cuffs, as long as you have 2 arms. For your neck, you should measure your neck. A good cheat for this is if you have a button-up shirt, you can get the measurement from the inside of the collar. My neck, I'm a medium, so I'm a 15th and 3/4 inches. If you're a large, you're 16 inches, and if you're extra large, you're 17. I'm doing something different here with my neckline. I'm going to curve the center front of the neck piece. You don't have to do this. This is completely optional. You don't need to do this at all. But if you are, you should follow my steps by just curving it with a rough curve and cutting off the excess. Back to cutting off the rest of your pieces. This is the back. Fold your fabric. Use weights to weight it down or pins. Outline with chalk. And cut. Next thing, we're going to copy our waistband. And here are the pieces that we've just cut out. Front, sleeve, we need 2 of those. Unless you have 1 arm. And 1 back piece cut on the fold. And here's our waistband. First things first, we're going to lay our back piece and our front piece over each other, right sides facing. Then we're going to stitch the shoulders together, pin and stitch shoulders. Here I'm using my serger instead of my sewing machine. If you're using your sewing machine, you just do a zigzag stitch. Do not use a straight stitch, use a zigzag stitch. Here's the sleeve. I'm gonna attach the sleeve to our newly sewn shoulder. I'm gonna find the center of that sleeve and pin it to the center of the shoulder. Then pin the edge of the sleeve to the edge of your armhole. And repeat the process for the other sleeve. And then we're gonna sew these 2 parts together. Next, we're gonna stitch the cuffs. I'm gonna fold the cuffs in half, pin, and stitch along the line. Again, if you do not have a serger, use a sewing machine and do a zigzag stitch. Here's the neckline or neckband, and that pin indicates the center back of the neckband. We're gonna fold it in half and pin it. Now we're going to attach that neck band or collar to the neckline of our sweater. The pins indicate center front and center back of the collar, just to match up the center back of the neckline. And we're gonna pin those together and overlap those 2 points if you are doing my optional neckband. If you're not doing this, you can skip the step and just pin your neckband straight around in a circle. Now that we have it pinned, we're gonna sew the neckband to the neckline. When you're finished, it should look like this. Next step, we're going to attach our sleeve and our side seam in 1 straight stitch. We're going to start from our sleeve and stitch straight down to the waistband via the side seam. Make sure that the sleeve points are together and stitch straight. If you're on your sewing machine, you should be using a zigzag stitch. This is what your finished product should look like. Now we're gonna add the cuff. We're gonna fold our cuff together, right side to right side. And then we're gonna put it over our sleeves on the right side, lining up the sleeve seam with the seam of the cuff. Slide it over, pin those 2 points together, and stitch again with a zigzag stitch or your serger. This is what it should look like when you are finished stitching. next step is the waistband, and our final step. We're going to pin the waistband in half, pin it to the waist of the sweater, and zigzag stitch that all the way around. You're gonna need a lot of pins for this step, depending on how big your waist is. After you're done at this point, this is what you're going to end up with, this final product, this neoprene sweater, if you use neoprene. When you're finished with your sweater, you should iron out all your seams to lay them flat.